In the 1980s, motorcycle performance wasn't measured by looks or brand loyalty, it was measured in seconds over the quarter mile. These are the 15 fastest 1980s motorcycles over the quarter mile. Machines that didn't just go fast, they did it quicker than almost anything else on the road. Number 15. Suzuki GSXR 1100. In the mid-80s, speed wasn't just about power anymore. It was about how much of it you could put on the pavement. That's where the Suzuki GSXR 1100 came in. Introduced in 1986, it was built to dominate the quarter mile from the moment it hit the accelerator. It didn't take long for riders to realize this machine wasn't just about looks. Underneath its aggressive fairing was an inline-4 engine with a displacement of 1,052 cubic centimeters. The motor was oil-cooled rather than liquid-cooled, a move Suzuki called the Suzuki Advanced Cooling System, and it helped the engine stay consistent under sustained full-throttle pulls, especially in straight-line tests. Riders who twisted the throttle wide open felt a strong and instant burst of power. The GSX-R 1100 put out roughly 130 horsepower, delivered up high in the rev range, which meant its real speed came alive as the tatch climbed. But it wasn't just top-end rush, it had punched down low too. Torque peaked around 76 pound-feet, giving the bike strong mid-range pull that made it deadly off the line. Suzuki didn't just give it power, they gave it a chassis that knew how to use it. The double cradle frame was all aluminum, a rarity at the time, and that kept weight down to just over 430 pounds dry. That lightness played a major role in the quarter-mile times. In real-world runs, the GSX-R 1100 could clock the distance in just under 11 seconds, hitting trap speeds near 125 miles per hour. Also, a 5-speed gearbox made the most of each gear, and power delivery stayed smooth as the bike climbed through the range. It wasn't twitchy or hard to control, which made it especially dangerous in the hands of someone who knew how to launch. What made it stand out wasn't just raw speed, but where that speed showed up. In the quarter mile, the GSX-R 1100 delivered real results, fast launches, strong pulls, and quick times. It didn't just perform well for its era, it became a benchmark for how a street bike could dominate straight-line runs. Number 14. Kawasaki GPZ 1100. In the early 1980s, Kawasaki wasn't just chasing performance, they were setting the tone for it. The GPZ 1100 didn't try to hide its purpose. It was long, bold, and clearly meant to go fast in a straight line. At a time when manufacturers were experimenting with technology, this machine took those ideas and pushed them right to the drag strip. The styling looked sharp for its day, but it was the way it moved that made riders pay attention. Kawasaki had worked on fuel injection, and the system on this bike delivered smoother fueling compared to earlier setups. That helped the engine feel strong and steady, especially when accelerating hard through lower gears. Buried inside the frame was an inline-4 engine with a displacement of 1,083 cubic centimeters. It was big, but it didn't feel lazy. When pushed, it responded with solid force. Power output was around 108 horsepower, which might not sound extreme today, but back then it gave the GPZ 1100 real muscle. Riders felt that strength built quickly through the revs, and the delivery stayed smooth, even at higher speeds. What helped even more was the torque, coming in at roughly 62 pound-feet, giving the bike enough push to launch off the line without hesitation. Real-world numbers showed what it could do. The quarter mile came in at about 10.9 seconds, and top speeds stretched just past 130 miles per hour. These weren't guesses, they were tested results from machines in factory trim. That made the GPZ not just quick, but fast enough to beat most of what shared the road with it at the time. Beside this, fuel range and ride comfort were decent for a bike this powerful. Riders could get close to 40 miles per gallon when cruising, though few rode it gently. A 5-speed gearbox paired well with the motor, keeping things predictable and easy to manage even under full power. This wasn't a high-rev sport bike or a wild two-stroke. It was a heavyweight with purpose. It delivered fast, steady acceleration that riders could count on. For anyone chasing serious quarter-mile numbers in the early 1980s, this machine wasn't just an option, it was a proven tool built for the job. Number 13. Honda V F1000R. There was nothing quiet about the way the Honda V F1000R arrived. It looked sharp, sounded mechanical, and carried a clear message. It wasn't built for comfort, it was built for speed. Designed with racing in mind, this machine brought factory-level engineering to the street. And when pointed down a straight road, it showed exactly what it was capable of. At a glance, the bike stood out with its bold bodywork and low, purposeful stance. Honda didn't hide the engineering either. It came with gear-driven cams, a rarity in production motorcycles, which gave it a mechanical edge and a distinct sound. Hidden inside the fairing was a V4 engine with a displacement of 998 cubic centimeters. The layout made the bike feel narrower between the knees, but it had the weight and feel of a full-size superbike. Once you opened the throttle, the response was steady and strong. Peak output sat around 117 horsepower, which pushed the VF-1000R into serious territory for the time. It didn't explode off the line like a two-stroke, but it built speed fast and kept climbing. The torque was another key factor, just over 66 pound-feet, and it gave the bike real drive out of corners and off the line. Quarter-mile performance was a big part of this bike's appeal. Test riders saw it cover the distance in just under 11 seconds, with trap speeds touching 125 miles per hour. That kind of straight-line speed made it one of the fastest machines Honda sold in the decade. And even with all its weight, it still surprised people with how well it could move. The gearbox was a 5-speed, and while the shifts weren't lightning fast, they were solid and predictable. Mileage hovered around 35 miles per gallon, but nobody was buying this bike to save fuel. It was built to perform, and that's exactly what it did. The Honda VF-1000R didn't just look the part, it had the numbers to back it up. For riders chasing serious quarter-mile performance in the 1980s, it delivered the kind of speed that left a lasting mark. Think that was wild? Quarter-mile times are about to get even tighter. If speed is your language, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. The quickest machines are just around the corner. Number 12. Yamaha FJ 1100. Some bikes didn't wait to make an impression, they just pulled hard and kept going. That was the Yamaha FJ 1100. It wasn't the lightest, the sharpest, or the most aggressive-looking machine in the showroom, but when it came to pure straight-line performance, few could touch it. Yamaha had built this motorcycle to cover ground quickly, and in the quarter mile, it did just that. The design was wide and stable, with a half fairing that kept wind off the rider and gave the bike a planted feel at speed. It didn't shout for attention, but under the bodywork was an engine that made real numbers. The power plant was an inline 4, and its displacement came in at 1,097 cubic centimeters. With 4 valves per cylinder and a solid set of carbs, it had the kind of build that liked to be pushed. Once rolling, the FJ 1100 came alive in the mid-range. Horsepower climbed to around 125 horsepower, but the delivery wasn't peaky. It stayed smooth even when the throttle was wide open, and gave riders confidence to stay in it deep into each gear. Top speed was impressive too, with real-world tests showing over 145 miles per hour. Torque was another strong point. The engine produced close to 75 pound-feet, and that made highway passing easy, but more importantly, it gave the bike a strong jump off the line. The 5-speed gearbox helped it stay in the right range, and the spacing between gears worked well for quick acceleration runs. Quarter-mile performance was where the Yamaha truly showed its purpose. It could clear the mark in about 10.8 seconds, with trap speeds pushing past 125 miles per hour. That wasn't just quick, it was superbike territory for its time. Mileage was decent if you kept your wrist in check, with riders getting around 35 miles per gallon. But fuel savings weren't the reason people bought this bike. They bought it because it was fast, simple, and consistent. The Yamaha FJ 1100 was made for open roads and long pulls. In the world of 80s quarter-mile machines, it was one of the few that could sprint like a sport bike while staying planted like a tourer. Number 11. Suzuki GS 1150 ESE. Certain motorcycles seemed designed with one clear goal in mind: to prove something. The Suzuki GS 1150 ESE didn't care about being light or delicate, it cared about pulling hard and running quick. In the world of straight-line speed, it made a real impact. This was a machine that combined old-school power with simple, proven engineering, and when pointed down a quarter-mile strip, it didn't disappoint. The overall design leaned more toward muscle than finesse. It had a large tank, flat seat, and a heavy-duty stance that showed it was ready to run. Tucked beneath the frame was an air-cooled inline-4 engine that had serious size. Displacement measured 1,156 cubic centimeters. It was one of the largest engines Suzuki had ever fitted into a street bike at the time. Throttle response was immediate, and the bike didn't wait for high revs to come alive. Peak power reached around 120 horsepower, and that number was backed by strong delivery through the middle of the rev range. It didn't feel soft anywhere, and even in higher gears, there was still plenty of pull. Top speed came in near 145 miles per hour, which put it in serious company. The torque curve was just as impressive. With nearly 74 pound-feet on tap, it launched hard from a stop and didn't hesitate in the mid-range. The 5-speed transmission handled the load well, with solid gear changes and ratios that worked for both street use and drag runs. Quarter-mile times were quick by any standard. The GS 1150 ESE could cover the distance in around 10.6 seconds, which made it one of the fastest factory machines of its year. Even without fancy electronics or lightweight frames, it held its own through raw mechanical power. Fuel economy was modest, around 32 miles per gallon, but no one bought this bike to save gas. It was about speed, and it delivered that in a way few others could. The Suzuki GS 1150 ESE fit the title perfectly. It was a heavyweight, built for quick sprints, and in the 1980s, it proved that size and power still ruled the quarter mile. Number 10. Kawasaki GPZ 900R Ninja. Every now and then a motorcycle comes along that changes the way people think about speed. The Kawasaki GPZ 900R Ninja did exactly that. It wasn't just another fast bike from the 80s. It marked the start of something bigger. For the first time, a full-size sport bike was shaped by wind tunnel testing, advanced cooling, and careful weight control. And that made it a serious threat over the quarter mile. The bodywork was sleek, and the design looked more modern than most of its rivals at the time. But this wasn't just for looks. It helped reduce drag and kept the bike stable at high speeds. Hidden inside the frame sat a liquid-cooled inline-4 engine with a displacement of 908 cubic centimeters. The compact size made the bike feel nimble, but it still had the muscle to pull hard when needed. Performance was the heart of what made this bike stand out. Power output peaked at around 115 horsepower, which was impressive on its own. But what made it useful was how the engine delivered that power. It came in smooth, stayed consistent, and kept building through the revs. Top speed crossed 150 miles per hour, placing it well into superbike territory. Torque came in strong too, with about 63 pound-feet available through the middle of the range. This gave the GPZ a firm push off the line and helped it stay fast without needing constant downshifts. The 6-speed gearbox was another upgrade, letting riders make the most of each gear without losing momentum. Quarter-mile numbers backed up the reputation. Tests showed the Ninja running the distance in just under 11 seconds, hitting trap speeds close to 125 miles per hour. For a factory machine in 1984, those numbers made a clear statement. It was built to run. Riders could expect fuel economy near 40 miles per gallon, depending on how it was ridden. But fuel savings were never the focus here. The Kawasaki GPZ 900R Ninja clearly showed how smart design and real power could come together to deliver serious straight-line speed when it mattered most. Number 9. Honda CB 1100F Bull Door. Before full fairings and fuel injection became the norm, there were bikes that chased speed using only raw engine power and smart tuning. The Honda CB 1100F Bull Door was one of those machines. It looked clean, felt solid, and when the road opened up, it delivered the kind of performance that few could match in its day. The design was straightforward, no racing bodywork or flashy extras, just a big tank, wide bars, and a serious engine sitting in the frame. That engine was an inline-4 with a displacement of 1,082 cubic centimeters. It was air-cooled, with 4 valves per cylinder and a layout that made power delivery feel strong but not rushed. Honda tuned this bike for more than just numbers on paper. The power came on steady, building as the revs climbed. Peak output was close to 108 horsepower, and riders found that it felt even stronger in the mid-range. Unlike some machines that needed to be redlined, the CB moved quickly without being pushed to the limit. That made it easier to control during hard pulls. Torque played a big part in the way this bike launched. With about 63 pound-feet available, it pulled well from low speeds and kept accelerating hard through each gear. The 5-speed gearbox was smooth and gave enough range to stay in the power without hunting for the right ratio. Quarter-mile times were impressive for a bike this size. Real-world runs showed it could make the pass in just over 11 seconds, with speeds reaching around 121 miles per hour. That made it one of the quickest naturally aspirated machines Honda had ever built at the time. Riders could expect fuel economy near 35 miles per gallon, which wasn't bad for a bike with this level of output. It was heavy, but it carried its weight well and stayed stable when pushed. The Honda CB 1100F Bull Door didn't need extra styling or tech to prove itself. It delivered quarter-mile performance through clean mechanics and strong power. In the early 80s, that was more than enough to put it in a class of its own. Number 8. Yamaha V-Max. The moment the Yamaha V-Max hit the streets, everything changed. It didn't look like a sport bike, and it didn't ride like a cruiser. It stood somewhere in the middle, but when it came to straight-line speed, it outpaced both. Built with muscle and aimed directly at the drag strip, this machine became one of the most feared quarter-mile performers of the 1980s. The shape was raw and aggressive. A small headlight, wide tank, and thick rear wheel gave it a bold stance that looked more like a muscle car on two wheels than a typical motorcycle. What gave the V-Max its punch was a V4 engine tucked low in the frame. The displacement measured 1,197 cubic centimeters, and the layout helped keep the bike balanced while delivering serious power. Yamaha didn't just build the big engine, they gave it a special system called V-Boost. At higher RPMs, it opened butterfly valves to let in more air and fuel, increasing performance without the rider needing to do anything. The result was a strong top-end rush. Horsepower climbed to nearly 145 horsepower, making it one of the most powerful production bikes of its time. The torque was just as shocking. The engine pushed out around 83 pound-feet, which gave it low-end strength and made full-throttle launches feel like being fired from a slingshot. Even with a 5-speed gearbox, the spacing worked well thanks to the engine's broad power range. Quarter-mile times were where the V-Max made its name. It could run the distance in just over 10.5 seconds, reaching trap speeds above 125 miles per hour. Those numbers weren't just fast, they were game-changing, especially for a bike that looked more like a cruiser than a racer. Fuel economy sat near 35 miles per gallon, but that hardly mattered. Most riders weren't concerned with range. They wanted acceleration, and the V-Max delivered it in full. The Yamaha V-Max didn't follow trends or play it safe. It focused on straight-line speed, and it delivered more of it than almost anything else in the decade. When it came to the quarter mile, this bike didn't compete. It took over. Number 7. Suzuki GSX-R Katana. Some motorcycles make an impression with sound or speed. The Suzuki GSX-R Katana made one before it even moved. With its sharp lines, angled tank, and futuristic fairing, it looked like something from another decade. But it wasn't just about design. This bike had the power to match the promise, especially when it came to straight-line acceleration. Beneath the bold styling was a frame that carried one of Suzuki's strongest engines. The air-cooled inline-4 had a displacement of 1,073 cubic centimeters. It came from Suzuki's GS lineup, but was tuned to deliver more edge. That made the Katana not just a styling exercise, but a serious performance tool. The engine pulled hard across the range, but it really came alive once the revs climbed. Power reached around 111 horsepower, and delivery stayed smooth through each gear. The 4-valve per cylinder setup allowed for better airflow, and that helped the bike stay strong through the top end. Real-world top speed hovered close to 140 miles per hour, a big number for the early 80s. Torque also played a key role in how the Katana performed. It produced roughly 72 pound-feet, which meant it had the strength to launch hard from low speeds without needing constant downshifts. The 5-speed transmission was geared well, making it easy to stay in the power while covering ground fast. When it came to the quarter mile, the Katana didn't back down. It was able to run the distance in just under 11 seconds, with trap speeds landing near 125 miles per hour. That performance made it more than just a styling icon. It was a real competitor in the straight-line game. Fuel economy landed close to 33 miles per gallon. Reasonable for a bike with this level of output, but fuel use wasn't the focus. Riders chose the Katana for how it felt and how it moved. The Suzuki GSX-R Katana proved that bold design could go hand-in-hand with raw performance. In the world of quarter-mile speed, it wasn't just fast, it was sharp, focused, and built to go. Number 6. Kawasaki Z-R. By the mid-80s, Kawasaki had already earned a reputation for building fast motorcycles, but the Z-R raised the bar even further. This was not a showpiece or a race replica. It was a no-nonsense machine, designed to pull hard, run straight, and keep going. For riders chasing quarter-mile speed, it offered real muscle with very little fluff. The appearance was clean and tough. Wide bars, a bold tank, and a flat seat gave it the look of an old-school bruiser. But underneath that basic shape was a serious power plant. Kawasaki used an inline-4 engine with a displacement of 1,082 cubic centimeters. It was air-cooled and based on proven parts, but with refinements to push it harder and smoother than the earlier models it came from. Performance didn't take long to show up. Power output peaked near 120 horsepower, but it wasn't just about the top number. The engine was tuned to stay strong across the rev range, making it easier to ride fast without constantly shifting. Top speed reached about 143 miles per hour, which was serious pace for a bike that looked more classic than modern. What helped even more was the torque. The engine made around 75 pound-feet, giving the Z1100R a heavy pull off the line and out of corners. The 5-speed gearbox felt sturdy and well-spaced, keeping the motor in its power zone without much effort. When put on the strip, the bike showed what it was really built for. Quarter-mile runs came in at around 10.9 seconds, with trap speeds climbing over 124 miles per hour. That wasn't just good, it was fast enough to leave many lighter bikes behind. Fuel economy sat around 32 miles per gallon, depending on how it was ridden. But for most owners, fuel numbers came second to the way it accelerated. The Kawasaki Z1100R brought together old-school toughness with 80s performance. In straight-line racing, it didn't need hype or flair. It just needed road, throttle, and a rider ready to hang on. Number 5. Honda CBX-1000. Usually bikes were built to go fast, but some were built to leave a mark, and the Honda CBX-1000 did both. With its 6-cylinder layout and wide stance, it didn't blend in with anything else on the road. This machine stood out for its bold engineering, but more importantly, it proved that a heavy touring class motorcycle could still deliver serious quarter-mile numbers. The look was unmistakable. Chrome pipes lined both sides. The engine stretched far across the frame, and the sound from the exhaust was unlike anything else of its time. The power came from an inline-6 engine with a displacement of 1,047 cubic centimeters. That 6-cylinder layout wasn't just for show. It gave the CBX a smoothness that few others could match. Even with the weight and size, it was no slouch. Peak horsepower came in around 105 horsepower, and the engine loved to rev. The delivery was linear, building power gradually and holding it steady all the way through the top end. Top speed reached close to 135 miles per hour, which was strong performance for a machine originally marketed for sport touring. The real surprise came from its torque. The engine made about 63 pound-feet, and while it didn't snap off the line like a lighter bike, it pulled hard and didn't fade. The 5-speed transmission was geared to keep things smooth, and shifting felt balanced, even under pressure. In quarter-mile tests, the CBX-1000 showed what it could really do. It made the run in just under 11.5 seconds, with trap speeds near 117 miles per hour. That wasn't just respectable, it put the bike alongside much more focused performance machines. Fuel economy hovered around 34 miles per gallon, which was manageable given the engine size. Riders often praised the bike's ability to mix fast road riding with long-distance comfort. The Honda CBX-1000 wasn't built around drag racing, but it had the engine and layout to surprise anyone who underestimated it. For a motorcycle this large and refined, its quarter-mile speed proved just how serious Honda was about combining power with precision. Number 4. BMW K100RS. Not every motorcycle built for touring ends up making a name for itself at the drag strip, but the BMW K100RS proved that comfort and speed didn't have to be opposites. It came from a company known more for long-distance refinement than hard launches, yet it still held its own over the quarter mile. In fact, it did more than just hold its own. It surprised people with how quickly it could cover distance. The look was clean and sharp. The fairing was shaped in a wind tunnel, giving it one of the lowest drag coefficients of its time. It was a bike made for the Autobahn, but when brought to the track, it showed just how efficient that design could be. Power came from a straight 4 engine mounted on its side, with a displacement of 987 cubic centimeters. That layout helped keep the bike narrow and balanced, even at high speeds. Where the K100RS really impressed was how steady its performance felt. Peak horsepower sat at roughly 90 horsepower, which may not sound extreme, but it came in with smooth delivery and stayed usable across the rev range. This made the bike easy to control, especially when running wide open down a straight. Torque was also well spread out. The engine delivered around 63 pound-feet, and it came on low, making acceleration feel strong without being aggressive. The 5-speed gearbox was simple and reliable, with well-chosen ratios that helped the K-bike stay quick without needing constant shifts. Over the quarter mile, real-world runs showed the BMW completing the pass in just under 12 seconds, with trap speeds reaching 115 miles per hour. That put it right in line with more aggressive-looking machines, proving that design and engineering could go toe-to-toe with raw muscle. Mileage was excellent too, with most riders seeing close to 45 miles per gallon, especially when cruising at steady speeds. The BMW K100RS fits this title not because it tried to be the fastest, it fits because it quietly delivered results. In the 1980s, very few bikes could mix comfort, stability, and quarter-mile speed the way this one did. It was proof that real performance didn't always need to look loud. Number 3. Moto Guzzi Le Mans 1000 Mark V. Before the numbers came into play, The Moto Guzzi Le Mans 1000 Mark V stood out for the way it delivered its speed with honesty, balance, and unmistakable presence. It didn't follow the same formula as Japanese superbikes or German sport tours, but when it came to raw mechanical quarter-mile speed, this Italian heavyweight held its own with surprising confidence. It had a wide stance and a low fairing, with classic Italian styling that made it stand out at every stoplight. Under the tank sat a transversely mounted V-twin, a setup that gave it a unique feel and sound on the move. Displacement came in at 944 cubic centimeters. The engine wasn't compact, but it was designed for real-world strength and long-term durability. Power delivery felt smooth and steady, with peak horsepower reaching around 78 horsepower. It didn't spike or rush to the top. Instead, it climbed with patience and stayed strong into the higher gears. Top speed was just above 130 miles per hour, not blistering by modern standards, but quick enough to put pressure on lighter bikes from the same era. Where the Le Mans really showed its strength was in torque. The engine produced close to 74 pound-feet, and that gave it the kind of push that worked well in real-world conditions. It wasn't just fast at the top, it had usable power off the line. The 5-speed transmission handled the load well, with each shift coming in clean and predictable. When tested on the quarter mile, the Moto Guzzi consistently ran times in the low 12-second range, hitting speeds around 110 miles per hour. That performance placed it squarely within reach of more modern and aggressive machines, showing that smart engineering could still get the job done. Mileage hovered near 38 miles per gallon, which was reasonable for a bike of its weight and class. The Moto Guzzi Le Mans 1000 Mark V fits this title because it delivered quarter-mile performance in its own way. It wasn't built to race, but it had the torque, power, and balance to run strong when it mattered. In a field of high-rev screamers, this machine proved there was still room for an old-school V-twin to make its mark. Number 2, Bimota DB1. Speed isn't always about power. It can also come from smart design, and the Bimota DB1 proved exactly that. The Bimota DB1 took a different route: lightweight, sharp geometry, and precision engineering. It wasn't built in large numbers, and it wasn't meant to dominate the highways. But when it came to short bursts of speed and tight control, few bikes of the 1980s could match its pace over the quarter mile. The body was narrow and compact, almost minimalist in appearance, with every part shaped for function. Underneath its sleek fairing sat a Ducati twin-cylinder engine, delivering power in a usable range that worked perfectly with the bike's low weight. The frame used chrome moly tubing, the swing arm was lightweight, and the fairings were made from fiberglass. All of this helped it accelerate with a level of sharpness larger bikes couldn't replicate. The DB1 made close to 63 horsepower, and while that may not sound like much compared to leader-class machines, the key was how little the bike weighed. Torque was another strength. The Ducati engine provided around 49 pound-feet, which gave the Bimota strong pull off the line without needing high revs. The 5-speed gearbox was matched well to the engine's delivery, keeping the rider in control without overworking the motor. In the quarter mile, this design approach paid off. Real-world tests showed the Bimota DB1 finishing the run in just under 12 seconds, reaching speeds over 110 miles per hour. For a bike with under 1,000 cc of displacement, that was a serious achievement, and it proved that smart engineering could rival raw size. Fuel economy was another benefit, sitting near 48 miles per gallon thanks to the bike's low weight and efficient engine tuning. The Bimota DB1 was never about showing off, it was about getting results. With its light frame, smart engineering, and sharp delivery, it managed to hold its own against much larger bikes when the light turned green. Number 1. Yamaha FZR 1000 Genesis. When Yamaha introduced the FZR 1000 Genesis, it wasn't just launching another superbike. It was changing the way street performance was measured. This machine delivered real quarter-mile results in everyday hands, which made it one of the most feared straight-line bikes of its decade. The design was shaped by lessons from the track. The frame was stiff but lightweight, and the suspension allowed for confident launches without wheel hop or wobble. At the center of it all was an inline-4 engine, carefully mounted low in the chassis. Displacement was 987 cubic centimeters. The geometry, weight balance, and power delivery worked together to deliver clean, controlled speed. This wasn't a machine that relied on top speed alone. Peak output came in at around 135 horsepower, backed by nearly 78 pound-feet of torque. That combination meant every gear had something to offer, and acceleration didn't drop off after second or third gear. Top speed could cross 155 miles per hour, but it was the low-end punch that made the difference in short sprints. When timed over the quarter mile, the Genesis regularly broke into the low 10-second range, running neck and neck with some of the fastest motorcycles ever built up to that point. For a production machine, that kind of consistency was rare. The Yamaha FZR 1000 Genesis didn't just go fast, it brought quarter-mile performance to a new level, and it did it with factory reliability. Before superbikes took over, these machines were setting the bar for fast. Whether you love them for their speed, sound, or story, these classics earned their spot. Got another 80s ripper in mind? Hit the comments, like the video, and make sure you're subscribed.